Hello and welcome to the first look at Total War Warhammer campaign gameplay. Today we're playing through a single turn some way into a Greenskin campaign, so while you'll see some features and mechanics shared by all the races, you'll also see some that are unique to the Greenskins and their hyper-aggressive playstyle. We're at alpha stage in the game's development right now, so please bear in mind that everything you're about to see is not necessarily final and is subject to change. So if you spot any UI that's not quite there or any other funny business, please rest assured we are still working on it. Okay, so this is the overview map of the old world. The extent of the campaign map will unfold with the two subsequent expansions coming further down the line, but the initial release deals with this central part of the Warhammer Fantasy Battles world. Down south here we have the Badlands, home to the various Greenskin tribes. Over to the east lie the World's Edge Mountains, which, as you probably know, is the principal domain of the Dwarfs, though other clans can be found in the Grey Mountains to the west. This central area is home to the Empire and the dread vampire counts, with the lands of off to the west. And finally up north we have Norska, the stomping grounds of various chaos-influenced tribes of rowdy Norsemen, and of course the Chaos Wastes themselves off to the northeast. To begin our tour of the old world, we've set up some scripted flyby cameras here. Now, these won't be in the final game, but they do enable us to show off the campaign map in all its glorious detail. We're now turning south and heading into the Badlands, and you can see in these Greenskin settlements that there's just an enormous amount of cultural detail on show. Over the marshes of madness now and past the Pillar of Bone, which is a magical fulcrum and forms a sort of epicentre for the winds of magic. So if you have a battle in this region, your spellcasters will have tempestuous levels of magic to play with. Up into the southern reaches of the World's Edge Mountains now, and we're getting firmly into Dwarf country, an area in which the Greenskins are eternally encroaching. Now there's a Dwarf Master Engineer there, one of the Dwarf hero types, so he doubles as a campaign map agent and a warrior in battle. And as we head north, you can really see the change in environmental lighting and the skies, which really alters the atmosphere across different areas of the map as you move around. Okay, here's Karazakarak, the dwarven capital, with Thorgrim and his army there guarding the gates. There's a huge amount of incidental detail in the campaign map too, like these peak-spanning bridges, testament to dwarven engineering prowess. Okay, our first stop today is at Karak Kudrin, a dwarf stronghold which is under siege by one of our orc lords and his army. You can see the proud nobility of the dwarves etched into the very architecture there. So, looking at Musk the Astute here, we can see that he's a level 11 lord and he has mostly character and battle skills. And we'll look at the skill trees in a bit more detail shortly. He's also got a couple of magic items on him, the Armour of Gork and the Battle Axe of the Last War. Now each hero, lord or legendary lord, can be equipped with up to 6 of these magic items, and they will appear around the portrait here. Musk has a big 20-stack army with some fairly meaty units in it, and if we go into the pre-battle panel here, we can see that this is pretty much a whitewash given the weakened dwarf garrison. We've also spent some turns building siege equipment to help in the siege. Musk has also won some magic banners from previous battles, which we can apply to our units in the pre-battle screen here, so let's buff up a couple of those with some neat combat bonuses. Okay, we're going to auto-resolve battles in this playthrough as there's a lot to get through, and as predicted, this was a pretty cut and dried affair. We now have these nice little pop-ups detailing exactly what you gain from the battle as well, including loot and XP. Post-battle, we have the usual array of options with what to do with the settlement, but we're aiming to expand our holdings here, so we're going to occupy Karaz Kudrin. Now the city is ours, and you can see that the Greenskins have really made their mark on it, festooning it with orc iconography and infrastructure. Now if the dwarves capture this city back, that will all get torn down, of course. Okay, we're going to take a trip back down south to the Badlands again, and take a closer look at city management in a little more detail. And here's Azag the Slaughterer, one of our legendary lords, so we'll come back to him in a second and have a closer look. But first we're going to take a look at Karak Draz, or Black Crag to give it its orc title. As you can see, we own all 3 settlements in this province, and Iron Rock is worth a quick look actually. You can see just how characterful these settlements really are, with this settlement clinging to the remaining side of an old volcano. A suitably orky place to call home, not least as it's yet another foothold in dwarf territory. Back to Karak Draz now, and you can see the kind of iconic style we're going for with our building icons. So we've got this very clear categorization of the different building branches. Let's just build some defences here for now. And diving into the building browser here, we can see the complete Greenskin construction tree, again with clear categorization between structure types, such as military support, military recruitment, and so on. We're also aiming to make the benefits each building brings as clear as possible. So if we look at the muster fields here, you can see precisely the unit types it unlocks for recruitment, which is really useful for army planning. Say I want to recruit giants into my armies, and who wouldn't, let's face it, I can instantly see by their unit cards that I need to build a stomping ground, with troll caves as a prerequisite, along with a level 5 encampment structure. We're also aiming for clarity with our tech trees, and the greenskin techs available in the Goblin Workshop are uniquely aggressive. Most bring improvements to various unit types in battle, as the Goblin Tinkerers nail metal plates, spikes, or bigger wheels onto things, improving melee attacks, charge bonuses, and that sort of thing. There's a couple of high-tier unit unlocks here too, in the shape of the Arachnarok Spider and the Doom Diver, but for now we're just going to improve our chariots by hammering bigger wheels onto them. Now, each race's tech tree works in a very different way, so for example the Dwarfs focus on both civic and military structures, while Empire actually need to build certain buildings to unlock parts of their tech tree. Right, let's take a look at Azag, and as a legendary lord, he's uniquely skilled and powerful. We've already unlocked his Crown of Sorcery, which gives him access to the law of death magic, which makes him a potent combination of general, melee warrior, and spellcaster. Diving into the skill trees now, and all lords have 3 core skill trees. Campaign skills, which improve their performance on the map, battle skills, which improve the performance of the various troop types in their army, and character skills, which enhance their personal fighting ability. And this branch here is the Law of Death, unlocked by Azag's Crown of Sorcery, and you can see summaries of all the skill effects along the side here. Characters now have 30 skill levels, and the skill trees are therefore way deeper than we've had before. Activatable battle abilities live here, and with even more advanced skills beyond. Legendary lords like Azag can also spend skill points to unlock their unique personal quest chains. Now these kick off multi-stage quests that then culminate in epic handcrafted quest battles, rewarding them with the unique legendary gear they get in the tabletop game. They can also unlock mounts here, so let's unlock Skull Muncher, and if we head back to the campaign map, we'll see Azag mounted on his favourite pet wyvern, which is obviously going to absolutely transform the way you use him in battle. Now, there's a pesky dwarf army on our turf here, so let's put Skull Muncher to good use. It's a pretty even fight here. The dwarf lord there is well equipped with magic items too, so let's go ahead and auto-resolve and see how we do. Okay, close victory. Now, there's those loot pop-ups again, and this time we've rolled lucky and won a Pigeon Plucker Pendant, an area effect melee debuff for Azag. So that's now hanging proudly around his big green neck. Okay, we're going to head into the mountains now and take a closer look at one of our goblin armies who, in true goblin fashion, have got themselves into something of a pickle. So Clubber Spitebacker here and his weakened army have rather inadvisably got themselves trapped behind a volcano and sandwiched between 2 rather well-appointed dwarf armies. As we can see by their movement range, there's just no way past. But there is a way under. If we use the Enter Underway stance, Clubber will locate a local entrance to the Ancient Dwarfen Underway, and will get the option to tunnel beneath the obstacles and extend his movement range. Dwarfs can use this ability too, but for both races there's always a risk of interception by nearby enemy armies, which would then initiate a subterranean ambush battle. Interception and evasion can both be improved in your Lord's skill trees. Over to the Pillar of Bone again now, and we're going to take a look at another one of our Goblin Lords who's having problems of a different order. Now, Grombogroff here has been a naughty goblin, neglecting the needs of his army. All Greenskins need to fight, it's in their blood, and that's reflected by their fightiness rating here. Now, these guys haven't fought anyone for a while, so their fightiness has dropped to quarrelsome, and below this particular threshold, they begin suffering animosity, which means that in the absence of an external target, they start fighting amongst themselves and reducing their own number. But there is stuff we can do to improve that. If we order Grom to set up a raiding camp here, the army will get busy with banditry, preying on travellers and looting the surrounding region. Now this makes them happier and puts their fightiness back on the rise, but it really is a key Greenskin stance, as there's a number of benefits, not least that this is a principal form of income for the race. The units in the army will also begin replenishing, and from a raiding camp, Grom can also access global recruitment. This means he can order in units even when far from any Greenskin settlements. Units recruited like this cost more, and they take longer to arrive than those recruited locally, but what all this adds up to is a uniquely aggressive race. This stance means that the Greenskin armies can operate deep within enemy territory, fighting, retreating, sustaining themselves, raising capital, replenishing, recruiting, and forging ahead once more on their own paths of destruction. Now, as you might imagine, there are great benefits to having a high fightiness rating as well, and if we head north to Border Prince's territory, we're going to demonstrate this with Grimgor Ironhide, our second legendary lord. Now, Grimgor's doing really well here. He's been fighting, advancing and winning, so his army's fightiness is through the roof. When it hits this upper threshold, the army will initiate a war. This will inspire another war boss to appear on the scene and join Grimgor's cause, and he will bring an army with him. Now, war armies are AI controlled and will shadow the parent army around the map, supporting them in attack and defense, until the army is destroyed or the parent army's fightiness drops below the war threshold. We can also give the War Army limited orders, such as attacking Ackendorf here. The army will then do its level best to raise the place to the ground. Now, this madly gyrating fellow is one of our shaman heroes, and we've deployed him in this region here to perform something called magical interference. Now, he's busy sucking the winds of magic out of the air right now, which will reduce the amount that enemy armies will have access to if they fight us here. Of course, we can also attach heroes to armies, so he will appear as a spellcaster unit in battle. And Grimgor is going to need his services, so we're going to do just that. Right, we're going to take Grimgor towards Blackfire Pass here, as he's nearing the end of one of his personal quest chains, and the location of the final quest battle in that chain is marked here by this blue floating icon. If we click the marker, we can see the details of the quest with a little narrative background, and the reward, in this case, some bonus XP and Gitsnik, Grimgor's legendary axe. It's pretty tasty too, with a major armor piercing buff. We can also examine the army that will be arrayed against us, and it is fairly substantial, with a warrior priest, a celestial wizard, some great swords, plenty of infantry, artillery, and altogether terrifying steam tank. But we're going to save that battle for another day. For now, we're going to take one final flight across the rest of the campaign map. Through Blackfire Pass now, and we're entering proper Empire territory and towards Reichland, which is Karl Franz's domain. And in fact, there he is on Deathclaw, guarding against a Greenskin army. Now, that little swirly effect you see is a tempest of magic, which should make for lively spellcasting in this area. We can also see some other Greenskin tribes here striking deep into the lands of men. Up through the Grey Mountains we can see some more dwarf strongholds to the right there, and through the pass into Bastogne and the lands of Bretonnia. And here we can see a vampire count who's invested this region, spreading his blight and physically transforming the terrain with his dark vampiric influence. Up over the Sea of Claws now towards Pack Ice Bay, and ahead lies Norska, a bitterly inhospitable region populated by the vicious, chaos-influenced Norse tribes. Armies travelling here will suffer attrition, but that's probably the least of their worries given how close the region is to the Chaos Wastes and the terrors that it's gearing up to spew forth. Right, heading back down south now, we're returning to the area of the World's Edge Mountains, and again you can really see how the environment changes and the atmosphere alters as you move between different regions. Okay, that's pretty much the end of our tour of the old world for now, and just a brief window on Greenskin gameplay. We're going to be examining the other races in a bit more detail in future, as they have plenty of their own unique gameplay mechanics. Now, we'll be hosting a developer live stream next week, more details on that soon, but do tune in if you've got any questions and we will do our best to answer them.